Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Random Redshirt podcast. Are you as excited as we are for Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 4? I know I am. Chris, I know you are. Welcome, everybody. I'm Zach, one of the hosts, and the other host, as always, is Chris. What's up, bro?
Hello, my dear friend, my great friend Zach. Awesome to be here. Excellent to see you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll love speaking and discussing about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. We have been eagerly awaiting this like for a while, so it's nice. It just came out for us this last Thursday, July 23rd. So it was great that you and I got to watch it. And so really nice to be able to sit down and chat with you after a while. We've both been super busy, so it's nice to have some time together.
Yes, I agree 100%. It's great to sit down and talk about the things we love. And Star Trek Strange New Worlds is back, ladies and gentlemen, after a long awaited time since the end of season three and the end of watching Pike have to say goodbye to his love interest in Captain Batel and all of that came within the season finale of season three. And we're excited to be back discussing Strange New Worlds. If this is your first time watching us, welcome to the Random Red Shirt podcast. A couple of nerdy guys who like to talk about all things nerdy and geeky. And Star Trek's definitely on that list. We love it. We love it. We love it. And if this is your first time, be sure to go to Facebook, Instagram, Threads, go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel there if you want to see the video version of this episode and many more. Or if you're on YouTube, we also have every single episode we've ever done available now on your favorite podcast platform. So that being said, Chris, very interesting first episode of season four, and we're gonna get into this. Season four, episode one, Valles Marineris, which is a very large physical or geographical location on Mars. And I remember reading about this when I was younger that Valles Marineris on Mars is like the Grand Canyon, but three times the length and three times the depth of the Grand Canyon. And as we know here on Earth, the Grand Canyon is massive. It's massive, huge formation, or a physical, geographical thing. And Valles Marineris would put it to shame. If we were there standing on the edge somewhere looking out, it would just be unbelievable.
Yeah, huge distinctive geological feature on Mars. It
Yeah,
makes me,
geological
yeah,
feature. That's what I was looking
yeah,
for. That's the
yeah,
word.
yeah. It made me think, I'd have to go back and look. I wonder if there's any pictures of it, like close-up pictures, close-up pictures that exist.
There are from space.
Yeah,
I don't think we haven't seen a rover that's gone to Valles Marineris yet, or at least to the edge or anything like
yeah.
that. Or the copter thing that landed the last rover didn't do a flyover or anything because they're on different parts of the planet. But it would be amazing to see some pictures as if you were standing right there looking out. It would be incredible.
It
And
would.
maybe one day humans will take those pictures ourselves, which would be incredible.
Yeah, it would be absolutely incredible. I like to think that on the Total Recall movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's like a scene where he and his significant other are like, out in Mars and standing next to a canyon. I'd like to think it was
Yeah.
Valles Marineris.
I think it might have been part of it. Sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, season four, episode one of Strange New Worlds, Valles Marineris, written by Akiva Goldsmith, Henry Alonzo Myers, story by Henry Alonzo Myers and Alan McElroy, and directed by Chris Fisher. So, it's been a little bit since we last saw the intrepid crew of Pike's Enterprise. And of course, we see Pike in the season finale again, like I said before, had to say goodbye to Captain Patel as she spirits her way off into a new plane of existence or something along those lines in that,
Mhm.
that season finale. If you have not watched or listened to our reviews of season two and three of Strange New Worlds, please go back and check those out. We had some wonderful guests during that time. We have had an amazing time discussing this show, and we've had our takes and some of our dislikes of certain parts of the show, but a lot of love for the show, I think overall. And this episode in particular, this season premiere is, I think, a very different type of episode that we've never seen for a season premiere that I can remember in Star Trek. And it picks up on a planet that originally, when the opening scene comes on, I thought was actually Mars, but turns out it's not.
Was actually Mars, huh? Yeah, it turns out the name of that planet was Tulaxar, right? And so they are gallop they're galloping around on this planet, which just
Literally
totally
are. Yeah.
they literally are with the horses, and that just totally made me think, where did the horses come from?
Yeah. Or the
Like that
saddles for
just
that matter,
where
right?
the saddles and the horses come from. This just thought just came to my mind. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like looks like Utah, like in an exotic like Utah in space, and
Yeah.
yeah. So
it it seeing Anson Mount riding a horse again brings me back and made me smile thinking of him as Colin Bohannon in Hell on
yeah,
Wheels. That was just amazing.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they were thinking about that too when
Yeah.
they had that, right? So it was Captain Pike and your girl Leon, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. So
With
like,
with her
yeah,
hair down, by the way. Didn't have it tight back, with her normal
ah,
hairstyle. She had her hair down, and it was
nice.
was very nice. Yes, I thought so too, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. And the good doctor. Doctor was on that. Doctor
Yes.
was,
Yep.
yeah,
Dr. Mbenga was there.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. The big three.
Yeah. And so they're galloping around on the horses, like having some horseplay, doing their thing. And then
Da-dunch.
yeah, and then then it's time to end, and then they get beamed back up to the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, really quickly, not to jump ahead, but this, t I'm trying to think of too many episodes that I have watched of Trek where the opening teaser was longer. This is like a 15-minute opening before we got the
Yeah.
initial opening credits and the initial, song, which I wanted to I was anticipating because I wanted to see, well, did they make any major changes or any subtle changes to the overall intro,
Mhm.
which we love very much. And the music, oh my gosh, the music was incredible as always. I sent Nami a message and said, "Hey, you nailed it again."
Nice.
Nailed it again with the music in this episode, and I'm sure it will be throughout all of season 4. So if you haven't seen our interview with Nami, be sure to go check that out on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. The musical composer for Strange New Worlds. She's just incredible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I thought that this beginning opening moments of the episode were pretty funny. I mean, after they beam aboard the ship, Spock is waiting for the away party, and then you have I'm sure you're not happy about this scene, but then you have the interaction between, Spock and Leon, and Spock's very happy that Leon is back. Obviously, like they're continuing their romantic relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big sigh. Big sigh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. And it
Yeah.
was awkward as you would expect for a Vulcan, right?
Yeah.
I did like I thought the line was funny though, and Spock said something to the effect of like, "Oh, I thought I should be here to greet you back and be present, when you arrive back on the ship." Or basically saying, I'm here waiting for you, kind of thing, but only in
Yeah.
a way in which Spock can do it, right? And that kind of weird line where Lon's like, "Oh yeah, take you back to my quarters or whatever," and Scotty's just sitting there going,
Yeah, he's looking.
you could tell Scotty did not want to be there. He just
Yeah.
felt, I mean, he felt so awkward, and I think I would have too had I been in his shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you have the exchange between Una and Captain, and so number one and Captain Pike, and she's. This is where we understand that he's just working all the time, and he's working everyone all the time, and everyone could really use a break because
Yeah.
it's just kind of been nonstop work, 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 and which makes sense as his coping mechanism or lack of coping mechanism, like after Captain Patel, because he's just involved in work and not stopping.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I think this is true in real life for people in general, right? And with other shows I've seen, not Star Trek, just other shows in general, I think this happens a lot where you see somebody who's had a major trauma, major, life event, and what's one of the things that they typically do? They go back to work and they uh kind of just lose themselves in their work a little bit to kind of, like you said, attempt to cope with whatever they're dealing with. And Pike here is no different. In fact, I believe Pike mentions, or at some point, either it was with Admiral April or to Una, that it was like their 15th mission in a row without any
Yeah.
real downtime.
Uh,
So I mean, that's a lot. I mean, if you
yeah.
think about it, and so I like what you said there, Chris, where you said Pike is basically losing himself in his work,
Mhm.
and he's working himself kind of, to death, and he's working the crew overtime, and so it's time for some type of change, right? From what they've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely some type of change. And they do get a change in this episode, and we see a meeting between Admiral April and Pike. You know, Admiral April is about to give Captain Pike an interesting mission to research a stellar squall, as I believe it was, kind of an
Yeah.
exploratory, completely scientific mission. But also, Admiral April is going to give Captain Pike an offer, a promotional offer, right? For Commodore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think from what we have learned, Chris, in the original series, making Commodore is not a good thing because it seems like all the Commodores either go crazy or die. That just seems
Ah,
to be like a common theme
yeah,
in TOS, right? Like every time
yeah.
we meet a Commodore, they're either nuts or they're all, there's some crazy mission going on, or they're on the brink of something really bad happening. And I mean, we saw it with Doomsday Machine. We've seen it with other Commodores. The Commodores, I think even in the episode, or yeah, in the episode Arena, when we meet the Gorn for the first time, there's a Commodore down on the planet, and the base is around it, has been destroyed, and they kind of find him in the rubble, and it's this era of Trek. It's not a good time to be a senior officer like that, especially a Commodore.
That's right. It- Captain Pike's reaction to the offer, I would not say is positive,
Mm-mm.
right? He's just like, oh, just that's it was not a positive like reaction. Um, and so, I mean, his pretty close to immediate response was like, well, when do you need an answer? How long do I have to consider it? And so essentially like he needs to have an answer at the end of the mission, which he does give. Um, but I did think that it was amusing that yeah, he was not liking it. So it's must be like an unenviable rank to be Commodore. People just do not like being Commodore for some reason.
I guess. I mean, or maybe the people who screw up as captains make Commodore so they can get them off the ships or something. I don't know because, uh, yeah, I think that it's very obvious in Star Trek that many of the officers who either are on the brink of making captain or are captains of ships don't want to leave that position because the captain's chair is the spot to be, right? In Starfleet, it's the spot to have. Being an admiral or a commodore, stuff like that, you're higher up, but you got a lot of the bureaucracy and all the other things you're going on. You're not in that chair. Remember in Star Trek Generations when Kirk tells Picard, whatever you do, don't let him take you away from that chair, right? Because
Yeah.
even Kirk realizes how much impact and how much good that you can do from that chair, and you can't necessarily do that as an admiral or a commodore. So
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
makes
for
sense.
sure. Sure it does. Yeah, it does. So they are investigating the stellar squall. And I had to look up if it was a thing, the stellar squall. I had
Is
never
it a
heard of
thing?
that. It's not
That term, anyways, or no?
yeah, not well in fiction. So
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
hoping it was going to be an actual scientific phenomenon, but I could be wrong, but I could not find that it was an actual scientific like stellar phenomenon.
Okay. So speaking of Star Trek Generations, for a second,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that the scene where the Enterprise first approaches this stellar squall, and then once it goes in, even though they say, "Well, we can't get too close because Spock's like, yeah, it could blow us up at any time," yet they go in closer and start flying around it, and Ortegas is like flying around it like a on a surfboard on a wave. But and they're
Yeah.
flying around, then the thing starts spinning upright, and then it's
Yeah.
spinning the Enterprise out. Did that remind you a little bit of the Nexus wave in Generations? I don't know. I don't know if it was the colors or the movement of the squall, but to
I
me,
can
I
see
had
that.
some a little bit of
Yeah.
similarities to the Nexus wave.
Yeah, I could see that. Do you remember in in that scene, didn't they receive like a distress call
Yes,
from
there was a
someone?
distress beacon. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
You talking about in Generations? Or you talking about
in
in the
Strange New
Strange New Worlds?
Worlds?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They got it. They were receiving a distress call from a ship inside the squall.
And what I totally forgot. Which ship was it? Was it
They
their
didn't know.
they didn't know.
They didn't know. Just a ship. And we
Oh,
later find out whose ship that was at the very end.
yeah, was them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It was their own. It was their own beacon,
Yeah,
their own
that's right.
buoy, whatever you want to call it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, they never say that that it's a specific ship or anything. Just
Okay.
that there was a ship was putting out a distress call.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they get looped around in the squall, turned about, and then come out on the other side of the squall, and like everything is, all of their systems are down essentially, except for life support, which they're grateful to have. But yeah, yeah, then they end up discovering that they are well in the past, I should say.
Yeah, I believe they find out that there is a system of planets
Yeah.
that they're close by, right? And I want to say it's not long after they come out of that squall that they are tethered in some way. Not necessarily in like you would because when you see the ship grabbing onto the Enterprise, it doesn't look like your standard tractor beamish kind of thing we see in Star Trek, right? It almost looks like this long electrical wiry whip thing that wraps around the ship. And that's when we uh, start to learn that, okay, there's this alien species, but we don't know who they are, where they're from. And that's when Pike tries to open up communications, I believe. When I first saw that ship on screen, Chris, because I remember seeing it in the trailer, and I think I remember mentioning to you that ship reminded me a little bit of a Romulan style. Like I was
Oh,
like, oh,
yeah.
is this a Romulan ship? Because obviously we
Mhm.
didn't know what that scene was from, right? I was like, are we going to get some Romulan action in here? Because we've already had was it season two? We had the almost spot for spot mirror of the
Balance
famous
of ter
episode from
Balance of
TOS,
Terror.
Balance of Terror. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we already know that they've kind of not messed up the canon with that, but they've kind of rewritten the canon where, Kirk is the first one to see the
Yeah.
Romulans kind of thing, and this time it's Pike. But I was wondering if we're going to get the Romulans coming back, even though the ship doesn't look like the old Romulan, birds of
Yeah.
prey that we see in TOS. I'm like, well, it has kind of that glow to it, but
And actually, the aesthetic of the ship and the aesthetic of Captain Cassell when they eventually connect and her guards and when they come on and their uniforms and how they look
yeah.
and their ears like as
Hmm.
people, yeah, they do just that aesthetic, and the design of them does look like they could be Romulans. Like
Yeah.
when you look at their costumes, that is, I think, very similar to maybe how you'd see the modern era of Romulan costumes, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of there's green tints like all over them, so that is a very similar aesthetic actually. So on that choice.
It reminded me of Romulan and then a little bit of the Riemann uniforms from
Yeah.
Nemesis, right?
Yeah.
With like, especially when you had the clone of Picard and he had like those big like
Hmm.
1980s, 90s shoulders on his
Yeah.
costume and everything. And that had so that's kind of why I was like, okay, the blue stuff painted on their forehead was different. I'm like, well, all right, so that's different. And then I saw the ears. I'm like, well, the ears don't quite look Vulcan or Romulan. Maybe these are a different. Because I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
once they come on board the Enterprise. At this point, they already know they're in the past, I believe, right?
Yes, they already know that they're in the past, I believe.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's where
Yes.
I'm like, okay, they know them in the past. Maybe this is a long, long, long distant ancestor of Romulans or
Hmm.
Vulcans or something, right? Because we know Vulcans and Romulans are related. That's kind of where my thought was going before we find out who they really are.
Yeah, actually, to skip ahead a little bit, um, Dr. Mbenga at the near the end of the episode, when he's talking about when he's talking to Captain Pike, and he says, Captain Pike's distraught because he's like, well, you know, their civilization died, the Martian civilization died. Dr. Mbega says, well, I've scanned, various DNAs from other species, and I can
Yeah,
tell you that like some of them, survived, and you can see some other DNA in other species throughout the galaxy. So, so connecting like with your hypothesis and theory, that might work. There might be some Romulan, there might be some Martian DNA in with the Romulans
yeah,
and the Vulcans.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's true. Which would be interesting that it would come from our solar system, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the other thing, did you once they showed kind of a brief image on the screen of the doldrum, that reminded me of the Xindi insectoids from Enterprise a little bit.
Oh,
Because we don't get a
yeah.
lot of insectoid species in Star
Yeah.
Trek, right? There's not too many, and so the insectoids are a very prominent subspecies of the Xindi.
Hmm.
And so when I saw them, I'm like, oh, this remind. It almost felt like they were kind of taking that a little bit of that from Enterprise. At least
Yeah.
maybe that was kind of an inspiration. I don't know, but that reminded me a lot of the insectoids.
It reminded me about Ender's Game. And
Ah,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I love that movie and the book. Like I love that book, Ender's Game. It reminded me a lot about that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So Pike tries to communicate with the ship, and Commander Castle doesn't care. Should I? Nope. Your ship's being salvaged. We're at war. And we don't know who you are. We don't know if you're, working with our enemy or whatever. And don't know who this Federation is. And yeah, you're ours. And
Was
Pike's like, wait, hang on. We got weapons. And I'm like, whoa. The captain's offering up weapons to a species he's just met. This is
yeah.
way outside the box for what a captain would normally do, right? I mean, almost a little bit of I raise my eyebrow and I'm like, I don't know that I like this response from Pike.
This the whole interaction was a little bit comical here. So uh yeah, they're captured. They're in the tendrils, right? And Pike's response is like, "Well, okay, all we can do right now is talk to them, so let's hail them." And he goes, I think you've accidentally like enveloped us with your tendrils. Could you like release us?" And so it's comical that that's happening. And then the back and forth between both captains is they're very polite with each other.
Yeah,
Very polite. Captain Cassell is like essentially like you're our captors, and if you're aligned with the Doldrum, then we're going to destroy you. Um, but then Captain Pike ends up back through this back and forth by going like, well, would you like to visit us? Would you like to come on board? He's just inviting on board, and he's using that as like I guess the last play that he
yeah,
has. Like, come on board. We're inviting you.
yeah. The bridge crew wasn't a big fan of that idea, right? I mean, they know they're in the past, and now they're
Hmm.
inviting some species from the past on board. And I think the the trepidation from the bridge crew is more than warranted, right? Because you're in the past, no matter how far you're in the past, by bringing a species on board the ship, you now risk massive implications to the timeline, which could affect the future significantly and affect their future.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
all know what happens when they monkey with the future. Bad things happen, right? What was the time enforcement? No, that's not the time
No.
enforcement commission. That's Time Cop. In DS9, those guys show up on the station, right? Because after trials and tribulations, because they want to find out what Cisco did in the past. I
Yeah.
can't remember. I don't know why I'm forgetting what they called themselves, but I'm thinking, yeah, these guys show up and now they're getting interrogated. So, yeah, Pike doesn't want to visit from those guys.
No. No, he doesn't. But maybe he'll get maybe he'll get a visit from them in the future. Like,
Yeah, that's possible.
I mean,
But don't.
he is responsible for, well, I guess he's responsible for the evolution of humanity, Captain Pike.
Yeah, that's kind of a
Mhm.
stretch, but that's true. Although I think if they visit him in the future, any answers they're going to get is just going to be a flash and a beep.
Oh,
We know that's where
oh,
it's going, Chris.
you went there.
Yes, I went there because that's where it's going, right? That's where this episode, I mean, that's where Pike's future is going. We know that if they don't, if I'm sorry to say, but if Strange New Worlds doesn't end with Pike like that, then there's a massive, massive break in canon. Right now, the whole thing with Pike, pretty much, forcing Kirk to take him to Talos 4 and the Telosians and all of that and everything we know about in TOS, I have to believe that as much, uh, you know, things that they've done in the show that have been different and kind of broken off of canon here and there, I gotta think that that's got to be Pike's future. I think that's going to be a huge upset to fans if Pike ends up just being, normal captain or whatever. And I don't know. It just it wouldn't make sense to me personally if they did that
Okay, because you said that,
because I
and
went there.
yeah, because no, because you went there, um, and as I think about this episode, and as I think about what you said about Pike, and so as I think about what the writers and their intent with this episode is, and maybe this is completely off, but maybe the entire purpose of this episode, because near the end, they at the end, right, they're saying like Ortega's like we didn't change anything, maybe we couldn't change anything, like, hey, what, nothing changed anyways, maybe we weren't supposed to change anything, maybe it wasn't there. Maybe the entire point of this is that, um like you said, with Pike and how he's going to end up in the future, and then there's themes in this episodes of the past, present, and the future, right? So they visit each. Maybe it is this, like, this is a foreshadowing of what happens to Pike, because they went back, they realized, oh, um you know however their actions turned out, the future was still the same, right? The future was there. There was no fifth planet. The fifth planet was destroyed in this particular episode. So, in terms of like being able to change all that, they couldn't. They went back in the past, right? They could not change their present or their future, whatever, by whatever means. Maybe it was just like this unseen law of physics that prevented them from making certain choices, or maybe it was fate, but they ended up where they ended up, which means Mars had a more distant orbit, and Mars eventually became colder, and that civilization died, and then there was no fifth planet with the insectoids. So for Pike, that would be his fate, right?
Mm,
Because he's fated to have the accident. He's fated to save those cadets, like in that tragic circumstance, and then he's injured and he's debilitated.
yeah.
And maybe that's the point of this particular episode, to foreshadow like what's going to happen, is like for Pike, this is going to be like his fate. If I can extrapolate it and go there and kind of think of this episode and how it relates to the series and how it like relates to Pike. So,
Yeah, I mean, it gets into this idea of free will versus predestination,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Hmm.
we're free to make our own decisions, our own choices, but at what point is it just the fact that maybe it's both? Like we are making our own choices, but it's predetermined because those choices were already known. Those choices we make were already known to be made. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so I think we're kind of seeing some of that play out. And Pike, of every character I've ever seen in Star Trek, in Strange New Worlds, Pike wrestles more with the past and the future than I've ever seen any other
Hmm.
character.
Hmm.
And part of it's because right in Discovery he was exposed to those Klingon, friggin' crystals that showed him his future and the accident and everything. And so now he's wrestling with, okay, I've seen my future and how do I stop it, right? Like there was a for most of the show, Pike's wrestling with the idea of how do I stop this from happening. Then it's almost like he's kind of settled into the point of, well, it's going to happen, right? So I'm looking back on what I've done. I'm looking back on what's to come, and to me, Pike feels like a man out of time. And here's what I mean by that: Pike's a man out of time because he's he's looking back to the past with eyes still on the future of what's to come, knowing what's to come, and therefore he's taking himself out of the present, right? And so he's all over the place. And it does kind of feel to me like he's a man out of time a little bit in that regard. Um, but the Captain Cassell is an interesting character in this episode. I almost do you feel like she's almost for a species that's been at war with another species, right? And they're fighting for the survival of their planet. Does she feel almost like she's too calm and too, I don't want to say nonchalant, but just too kind of laid back given the severity of what they're trying to do and her trying to save her planet?
She was very civilized,
Yeah.
right?
I felt like
Let's
too
see.
civilized, right? Like they run
Yeah.
into this ship and an unknown species and everything. They don't know what's going on. And they're just very, oh, we're just gonna salvage your ship. And
Hmm.
eventually Pike sweet talks her and she comes on board the ship and with no rhyme or reason of disease or viruses. I know they talk about, oh, well, we have great medicine or something and
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
protects us and so forth. But yeah, to me, the character didn't feel like she was doing whatever she could to save her species, her planet, right? It was just, oh, well,
Hmm.
we're just finding ships and trying to, trying to stop a war and, ho hum, tea time, whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I see. I see. Yeah, I didn't have that sense, but I got the sense that they were quite just their demeanor, and her as an individual was like a very just had a very civilized demeanor.
Yeah,
I think she said she had studied medicine as well, right, to
I
Dr.
believe so.
Mbenga. So
Yep.
yeah, I think that was just her particular personality, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. She wants to see the weapons. That's for sure, right? She is all about the weapons, right? And she finds out that Pike lies to her
yeah,
because he doesn't tell her up front that they're actually from another time. She
yeah,
finds that out through their computers
yeah,
that they're not from the same time. They're from the distant future. Like their federation doesn't exist for millions of years and all this. And that results in them going, well, we're just going to steal your antimatter fuel cell,
yeah,
and then we're going to take off from the ship.
yeah, which they do.
Mhm.
Yeah. I did not realize an antimatter fuel cell could destroy an entire planet. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems a little bit of a stretch to me.
Uh,
I mean, matter, antimatter, explosion, it's a good size explosion, right? I mean, that'll
yeah.
blow up a ship for sure, but an entire planet seems maybe they modify it, or
Yeah.
something into
Yeah.
this torpedo thing and then they launch it and add something on. They add in the red drop, the freaking
The red
JJ
drop.
movie.
Yeah. That was Spock's invention.
Yeah, let's not talk about those. Unless you want to start talking about Ray and her
Those don't
kissing
exist.
kissing Kylo to bring him back and all that.
Those don't exist. That was messed. That is objectively a bad movie.
Those movies don't exist in this dojo, do they?
No, no, it makes no sense. That movie.
No,
No,
no, it
no,
doesn't.
everyone. Yeah,
No,
understand that
no.
both. Yeah, Rise
And
of the
and
Skull. Yeah, no.
yeah, and destroying Vulcan and Romulus in the same movie, that doesn't make any sense either.
No, it doesn't.
Like the whole like the Federation wouldn't be there to stop. I mean,
Yeah.
but bunch of the whole Federation fleet couldn't stop a Romulan mining ship. I don't care how far in the future it is. But anyways, we digress here. We won't get into those crazy movies. Yeah, so they steal that fuel cell and and so the antimatter fuel cell is a big deal too because it affects, the ship system. They need it to go. It needs to be get out and do
Yeah.
stuff. And I think I believe the moment where Captain Cassell finds out that they're from the future is because she sees something in their computer about how in the future her planet is a red, dusty wasteland,
Yeah.
right? And that's how she figures out, oh, so she finds out what happens to her planet and her people and that they're from the future, and that really, really upsets her.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, she says that to Captain Pike. She says, "Hey, I've been honest with you. You have not been honest with me about when you were from." And, I could totally see that because soon she's
Yeah.
done and she wants to take the weapon that she needs and go and destroy the insectoids.
Yeah.
Yeah. The doldrum.
But we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Una getting an away mission, getting off the ship and leading an away mission with her and Ortegas and La'an to a planet that we find out is actually insert pun here, third rock from the sun.
Ah, yes. Earth.
Great show,
So,
by the way.
yeah, when I was about to text you, and my text was gonna, but I knew we were gonna talk soon. I was gonna say, like immediately when it happened, I was gonna say, your girl punched the dinosaur. That was,
Yeah, the Velociraptor. Yes,
yeah,
that was epic. Epic, by the way. They should have had a character like her in Jurassic Park. Just punch the dinosaur.
punch the dinosaur.
Yeah, she doesn't mess around.
Yeah, and I was thinking totally was thinking the Jurassic Park the whole time they were going through this, right? So,
Yes,
that had a lot of Jurassic Park type like feelings.
100%.
They spared no expense. Spared no
Well,
expense.
it would have been hilarious if they showed up. Obviously, they would. It'd be satire, right? But if they showed,
Yeah.
they'd be cool. If they did like a robot chicken version of this episode, and the three ladies land on the planet in the shuttle, and they
Yeah.
get out, and there's Ian Malcolm laying on his side with his shirt half open from the first
Oh,
Jurassic Park
oh,
movie,
yeah.
and he's looking at him, and he goes, when the Pirates of the Caribbean break down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
Yeah.
That would have been
That's
an
right.
epic satire moment.
It would have been. And he could be there. He said, life finds a way.
That's right.
Life
Your
finds a way.
scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Lon, you're so preoccupied with whether or not you can punch the dinosaur, you're not stopping to think if
Yeah,
you should punch the dinosaur.
absolutely. So let's talk about Leon like a little
Yeah,
bit. Like, yeah.
I'm all
So
down for that.
yeah, yeah, I know. So she instinctively she's like, all right, she's hand-to-hand combat with the Velociraptor, punches the
Yeah,
Velociraptor so hard that the Velociraptor runs away to its mommy. So
yeah.
that's like how hard she punches him. And then she apparently like has no pain from that, right? Like, and um, did she break her hand? I think she might have
No,
broken.
no.
She never broke her hand, right? Yeah.
I don't remember I don't think she broke her hand. No, I mean she was in sick bay at the end, right? But I don't think she broke her hand. I think it was just red or something.
Okay. Okay.
And maybe she heard it some way where there should have been pain, but she said she wasn't feeling it. So
Yeah, she said she wasn't feeling it. So it was like
yeah,
she didn't. Yeah. And so I don't know that they ever really explain that, right? And but they do go into a little bit about like it was something about like, hey, maybe they've gone in the past and it's activated her retro DNA sequences that give her more superpowers, like essentially.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they're referencing the Khan Noonien Singh DNA, right? The
Yeah.
genetically engineered, genetically modified DNA in her system, right? Uh, that moment, and I was going to talk about this later, but we can
Yeah.
definitely talk
Yeah.
about it now. That moment in the episode worried me.
Okay.
It worried me about what the possible future of Lon is in the show. Now we know she's not a TOS character, right? So we know that by the end of the series that she's not going to continue on with the Enterprise, right? We know that she has to diverge somewhere.
Hmm. Hmm.
She has to do a Neelix like in Voyager and diverge off the bridge. But hopefully in the same way of Neelix, not dying, she would survive and everything. My hope is that she goes off and lives her life somewhere and they don't kill her off. I mean, she's wearing a red shirt after all. So that in and of itself is a concern. We all know it. But I do have concerns about that, Chris. I really do, given the ending of this episode and what she mentions. Uh, I don't know where this is going to go, but I do think that is a little insight into something they might be planning on doing later in the season. That's just a
Hmm.
guess.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think she's gonna make out well. I think she'll get promoted. She's gonna go maybe be captain of a starship or head up some important like division within Starfleet. I think she'll end up well. She's too bright. Like I
Yeah.
think she's too
I hope you're right.
yeah.
I really do because it does worry me. You started to say, I think she's going to make out. I said, please, I'm like, please tell me he's not going to say with Spock.
No.
She did that earlier in the episode when she got back to the ship.
Yeah.
But no, the scene on the planet where we finally, Una had been asking to lead some away missions, right? And she finally
Yeah.
gets her chance. And the first away mission she goes on in a while, what does she get? Dinosaurs. And I love that ending scene where they're all sitting around talking. They're like, "So tell me about the dinosaurs." And Lon, you punched a dinosaur? Like
Yeah.
it was great. The special effects on in those scenes were incredible. Like this,
Yeah.
the visuals
Yeah.
of like that, what they're saying is prehistoric Earth, and it was just absolutely. And it very much had. I was waiting to hear the John Williams Jurassic Park score as you
Yeah.
saw all the animals flying around, and that would have been
Ag-
cool.
Agree. That would have been cool. So they have to apparently they've got to get past the T-Rex to get to the Iridium, wherever the
Yeah,
Iridium is, because they need to get Iridium for their ship. And to get to the Iridium, there's like a T-Rex there, and
yeah.
but you don't actually see it first, right? Like they, it's kind of hidden behind the trees, and they said we got to get past that, and then you realize later what that is, which is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And so the Tyrannosaurus Rex is like coming at them, and they're like, well, we'll use our we'll use our phasers. Let's see if those work. So
On stun
yeah,
though. Don't let's
on
not forget
stun,
stun. We're not going
on
to kill it.
stun.
We're going to stun
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
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 They're gonna try stun it, and they do talk about the other setting of the phasers too. I guess that's a new thing, right? The disintegration setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
The scene where you hear the T-Rex first and you see the foliage moving around, right?
Hmm.
That is I mean, you cannot convince me otherwise that they didn't rip that from Jurassic Park. That is like classic Jurassic Park moment where you see the brush move, you hear the dinosaur noises before you ever actually see the dinosaur. That
Yeah,
is like in every Jurassic Park movie. So that you and I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying you cannot convince me that they didn't rip that out of Jurassic Park.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that.
So,
It would be funny if, like, after they lifted off on the shuttle and they're flying away on the shuttle, and then you'd see the dinosaur like behind them, and they'd be looking like in if the shuttle had a rear view mirror,
oh
and then they
yeah,
could look
yeah,
at
like the
that, and then
rib.
you'd see the ship.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be
I'm telling you, dude, this would be a great like robot chicken episode, right? With the
yeah.
claymation and stop go. Yeah, that this would be like a great satire thing to do. Um, I do wonder though. So when they're sitting around the room in the writers' room and with the producers and the creative team, and they're saying, okay, we're putting together our season 4 episodes, and they're
Hmm.
like, well, what should we do for a season 4 premiere? And everybody's like, well, we could do that with some time travel here and there. Somebody goes, and they go, yeah, you in the back, Bill. or Bob or whatever, right? What do you got? I mean, we haven't really done this in Star Trek. Let's do dinosaurs. Like,
You're right. Yeah.
and they're like, yeah, that's a great, yeah, dinosaurs. We haven't done that before. Let's do that. Yeah. I,
Let's do
I
that.
would have loved to have been a fly in the wall to hear the pitch for dinosaurs in the season premiere of a
Yeah.
Star Trek episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been interesting. Yeah, with the Martians, I was back and forth on it because the Martians are obviously humanoid, right? So
Yeah.
so I was back and forth on like, okay, are they intending to like imply that the origin of humanity is from Mars, and then the Martians like migrated or somehow like escaped to Earth? And I guess you could kind of take that from this episode too, a little bit, but I'll see how I feel about it. I'm going to think about it like a little bit, just that uh, that the Martians were like humanoid and it was right there. I got to think about how I feel about it all.
Well, we know the Martians were responsible for the destruction of the dinosaurs, apparently, according to this episode, right? Because the chunk that breaks off
Yeah, yeah,
uh, and is from Mars and sends its on its way to Earth, and that's the destruction of the dinosaurs, which, depending on what you believe actually happened in real life, yeah, very interesting. Good point there, Chris. So we did see on a screen at one point, we do see a snapshot of Mars as it would have looked, right, with the water
oh yeah,
and the
yeah,
atmosphere, like
yeah,
how their planet would have been, right? I would have loved if while Captain Cassell was talking about her planet and her people, if they would have like as she's talking about it, had like a couple of not flashbacks, but like shots of the planet and of maybe some of the people there
oh
or something like
yeah,
that, so we could kind of see what it would have looked like, what the society would have looked like, versus
yeah.
just the only thing we see is her and two guards and then a shot of the planet on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It
Mm-hmm.
would have been kind of cool to see what would Mars have looked like with the Martians and the people down there, and that would have been kind of
Yeah,
neat.
I would have really enjoyed that too. Yeah, just she's recollecting about, hey, this is my planet. These are the type of people that we are.
Exactly.
This is
Yep.
my city. This is where I'm from. And you flash back and you kind of see that. I mean, she was a very articulate like individual. So I
Right.
would have loved to hear that like from her perspective.
And they seem like a society that they would have had maybe art and philosophy, and they would have been a civilized society, right?
Hmm.
Civilized planet. And so it would have been kind of neat to see that, because I think then what you do is by having that, you would then draw the audience in more to them and their world and their
Yeah.
people, and then that allows you to have the audience have more empathy for her, and more understanding of her as to why she's doing what she's doing to protect her people and her planet.
Yeah,
Just, my own personal thoughts, but
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, While we were talking about this, Starship Troopers just popped in my mind because it was a war against the
the bugs,
bugs,
yeah,
the
yeah.
bugs and the
I thought about that too,
Iraqis.
yeah.
You did, yeah, yeah. So, well, not to worry. Earth has its own battle in Starship Troopers with the bugs. So
That is
that
true.
is
And
one
we all know the only good bug is a dead
is
bug,
a dead bug.
right?
Yeah,
Um, I did find the little scene funny where Una stuns the T-Rex, right? So she shoots it
yeah,
and they go, did it work or whatever? And they swing around and then the T-Rex drops. And they're like, they can't find Una. Like, oh, what happened? All of a sudden she pops up from under behind the T-Rex and she goes, oh, I'm alive, whatever she says. She goes, oh, it's a girl. That was funny.
yeah.
So it's a girl T-Rex.
How does she know it's a girl
I
T-Rex?
don't know.
Yeah,
She
me
took
neither.
dinosaur anatomy at Starfleet. I don't know. Maybe,
Ah,
I
yeah,
guess it
yeah,
would have. I
yeah.
guess they would have thought that, well, male T-Rex has male parts and this one
Perhaps
didn't,
so.
so it's got to be a
Yeah,
female, or I don't know.
yeah.
But
That's right.
I did.
Right.
I chuckled at that. I thought that was a little corny, but I thought it was funny though. I really
Yeah,
did. It's
yeah.
kind of funny.
And Ortega's like comment shortly before that was pretty funny. She's like, "Well, the dinosaur's not chewing, so it didn't eat her." It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. That's good. When after they get past the T-Rex on the planet, Chris, when they find the source of the iridium, which is that alien ship, right, that have been
hmm
that's crashed on
yeah.
Earth. Did that scene remind you a little bit, minus like the
Yes.
visibility and the wind and
Yes.
everything? Did it remind you a little bit
Yes.
of the alien
Yes,
ship
it
on the
did.
first Alien movie? Okay.
You're reading my mind. Like, yeah, yeah,
Dude, I think it's because of that Vulcan mind meld you did on me all those years
yeah,
ago, and it's just
yeah,
our minds have
yeah,
stayed linked forever.
yeah. No, you totally looked like
It
Alien.
really did. I
Really
think
did. Yeah,
I think they ripped some of that from Alien too. I'll be honest with you.
yeah,
I think that idea came from Alien.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, there's Alien, and then there's the Prometheus movie that was like associated with that. So
Yep.
there's that, and then there's Jurassic Park. That's all kind of all of those things influence this episode.
This episode is a melting pot of nerdism. It has to. I mean, right? It has to be.
Yeah,
It's Star Trek. It's Jurassic Park. It's Alien. It's kind of a little hodgepodge of a bunch of stuff.
yeah,
That's how it felt like as an audience member.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All of those things are in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we got to talk about Scotty. So this episode, what I found fascinating was there was a number of interwoven relationship stuff going on, right? You had the relationship with Una and the cadet, and you could tell Una, or not Una, I'm sorry, Uhura and the
yeah,
cadet, the Vulcan cadet, who was very Vulcan. She might even have been too Vulcan for Vulcans, but very Vulcan.
yeah. Are all Vulcans like that rude? Like they're like rude.
I mean, a lot of the Vulcans we meet are very much like that when you first meet them, and then characters like T'Pol and Spock and others, as they go on, they begin and they're more around human. They begin to lighten up a bit, for lack of better
Hmm.
terms, or they soften a little bit. But lots of relationships going on. So you had the Uhura and the cadet one. There was a Scotty and Ortegas one that I thought was hysterical, where he put in these warnings in
Yeah,
order to. I love what she said, where she's like, "Yeah, he did this stuff to the computer to flash lights and make noises to make my job more difficult because he said I was making his job more difficult." Because of the way she was flying the ship. So that was hysterical. I
yeah,
absolutely love that. But there's a lot of these little interwoven relationship stuff that happened in this first episode that added another layer of complexity to it, which I thought was great.
yeah, yeah. That was fun banter back and forth between Scotty and Ortega. And at the end of the episode, I think they bump into each other, like they spill. I think
Yes, the drinks.
yeah, they
Yeah.
spill the drinks. I think Ortega maybe spills it on him, and he's like waiting for an apology, and that doesn't come. And she's like, "You guys with your monkey wrenches,
Oh yeah, you
engineers,
engineers or something like that. And he goes, "Oh
engineers,
yeah, you pilots and
pilots."
everything."
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
uh,
that I
that was
like
cute
that.
banter.
That
Yeah,
has not been a thing yet in the show, and so that banter between the two of them is was very well done.
yeah, yeah. Did you have Pelia's scenes where whether Pelia was at whether she was in a meeting in a conference or just like if she's talking on the bridge, I find them very awkward.
Yeah,
It it just like
yeah.
yeah, I don't know how you feel. They are awkward to me right now.
The I, I like Pelia. I thought she brought a unique perspective, a different type of character in season three. I felt like her scenes, and this is nothing against Carol Kane,
Hmm.
but I felt like her scenes in this episode were a miss for me.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. They were
yeah,
very awkward. She felt like especially the scene in the conference room where she was just kind of like blabbling on about stuff. And
yeah.
I'm like, it's almost felt like the dialogue was added in at the last second to add some level of humor that
Hmm.
they felt like was missing. But it made her sound like a she was high, like like she
Yeah,
was just like
yeah,
a druggie or something, where she's just like, oh, and
yeah.
it like I said, I love Pelia. I thought she brought a lot of fun stuff in season three. I just felt like it didn't work in this episode, at least the way
I
they had it played.
agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. It did not fit for me either. Yeah.
Yeah.
But oh well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But So Pike and the Enterprise do stop. Um, oh no, I'm sorry. I take it back. They do not stop the planet from being destroyed. The Doldrum planet from being. Did I say their name right?
Yeah, Doldrum planet.
Yeah, the
Doldrum.
Doldrum. Yeah, the
Doldrum.
Doldrum planet from being
Yeah.
destroyed. And that split second decision that Pike makes, where he tells him not, because La'an's waiting, trying to lock on the torpedoes. They finally lock on, and she's like ready to fire or whatever. And Pike pauses for a brief moment. And he says, don't fire, stand down, whatever it is. And then they let it happen. And the look on the characters' faces on the bridge, watching the planet be destroyed, and then coinciding with the destruction of the Martian ship was really interesting. It's almost like they sat there and went, "Oh my, what have we done?
Hmm. Or what
What's
are we?
happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, or did we, what have we changed,
Yeah.
right, in the future?" What were your thoughts on that scene with the reaction from the crew as that's happening?
Well, my thoughts on that scene, like as he was coming to that conclusion where that that was probably the right that I mean that did feel like the right decision, right? He said,
Yeah,
"Oh, let the torpedo go, let the planet be destroyed." And yeah, it is tragic, but for Pike, like we've been talking about Pike, he's got this special perspective on the future, this special perspective on the past, and then that definitely influences how he commands and his judgment and what the decisions he's going to make. So I did feel like, okay, yeah, that totally made sense because there is no fifth planet, that shouldn't be there in in their present. So this has to be part of some bigger, broader chain of events, and that made sense.
yeah,
So yeah, there in terms of the crew's values, like in uh, of seeing this homeworld like destroyed, it's completely against like the crew's values, and yeah, they should be upset, but it totally made sense to me. Like, no, this is part of the how things should be, and you could almost connect it to the idea of the prime directive, you know, on
yeah.
yeah. I mean, not really
Well, yeah, it's
because
their
it's
antimatter
their
fuel cell, right?
antimatter,
So
yeah,
they
that
had a big
destroyed it.
effect
So
on everything.
so
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, that's how I felt like, okay, it sounds like this is the natural decision. How
yeah.
was your feelings when you saw that?
Uh, I was thinking to myself, okay, so Pike changed his mind last second. He must have had some type of intuition or gut feeling
Hmm.
that he said, I got to let this happen. But I think the other thing is, I think Pike felt the same way. And in fact, I think he even mentions, he's like, well, if I was in uh, her shoes, I think I'd feel the same way or something along those lines. I think he mentions that somewhere, right? Um, so I think he decided, what she's doing is right. I would do the same thing and therefore didn't want to interfere, not knowing that by not interfering, he's actually protecting the future rather than altering the future. He didn't know that at the time, right? And he mentions to Admiral April, I think it was, where he says, "Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that split second decision, that I made. I didn't know it was going to change everything." By the way, it's actually not Pike in the Enterprise. The reason why the future is the way it is, Admiral April. He's the one that sent him on the friggin' mission. So really, Admiral April's the reason why humanity changed the way it did, right?
I
We
think
got it.
so.
He's the one that sent him on the mission, was he not?
Yeah.
So yeah, very interesting there. So there is like we've seen many times in Star Trek with time travel and sci-fi in general. There is a moral dilemma here, right? There is a philosophical question to be answered, which is in this case, should Pike have interfered and allowed this to happen? I mean, I didn't really like the fact that the Martians had more advanced technology than the Enterprise did,
Mm. Hmm.
right? I mean, they could literally walk through walls.
Yeah.
This is 65 million years in the
Yeah.
past. I would have liked to have seen them, not that they couldn't have technology, or I'd like to have seen them been maybe a little bit less. But then again, if they had lower technology, then the whole thing wouldn't have worked, I think.
Yeah.
But the moral philosophical question there is, if you were transported back in time, even like something with your own life, for example, and you had the ability to change something, would you?
Hmm.
Knowing that by any decision you make could have that butterfly effect, that ripple
Hmm.
effect through time.
Hmm.
Um, I think a lot of this has to come with the fact that I think that Pike agreed with uh, with the captain.
Mm.
I think that's what it comes to. I
Think
think he
so?
empathized with her.
Hmm.
She was trying. He even mentioned about what she's trying to save her people, her planet, or whatever,
Hmm.
and even mentioned something about how well maybe I would have made the same decision if I were in her shoes. So I
Hmm.
think there's a level of empathy there
Hmm.
um, between Pike and her.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, he definitely had a amount of like respect for her. So they
Yeah.
got along pretty well. Yeah.
Yes, almost too well, I felt. I do feel like there should have been some more tension. I don't feel like it was as dramatic as it should have been, given the situation that they were portraying in the episode. I feel like there should have been more tension, right? More drama between them, especially if you have this Martian who's potentially thinks that the Enterprise and her crew are bad guys. There should be, I don't know. It just felt like it was too calm, cool, and collected between the two of them.
To me, like I felt like how I experienced it was that she reminded him of Captain Battelle. And
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, the first time they see each other, right, and his reaction to her, he's very pleasant with her,
Oh, in the corridor,
right?
right?
In the
Yeah,
corridor, right?
yeah.
He's very, very pleasant. And then even before they even see each other, kind of their back and forth, just talking on the comms, it's this almost kind of like pleasant, like talking back and forth conversation that they're having. And then the moment where they're on the bridge and she picks up uh, she picks up on the word like alone, and then she says like, "Oh, I'm really sorry for your loss,"
Oh,
which
yeah,
was
his
which
face.
yeah, and I don't that was a little bit of an awkward transition to that because I'm not sure like how she connected the word alone with widower, and they talked about their language translation, and I don't quite sure how it got into that, but then she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss," and she knew that he had lost someone that he loved, and he says, "Well, isn't part of isn't love?" He they start talking about that idea of love just
Yeah,
between them. He starts talking about that, right? So I think there's a lot in there that she reminded him of Captain Patel.
that's a good point. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Uh, so they get back to their normal time and they discover that the Mayday buoy that they first found was actually their own,
Their own, yeah.
which is obviously would be very trippy, right? Very, very trippy. And I think Pike tells that's where you find out because Pike tells Admiral April in his quarters, right? That was the case. And I don't understand. Okay, so in a situation like this, right? They travel back in time and they're a part of something that apparently has major ramifications on the
Yeah.
development of Earth and humanity. And then they're like, oh, okay, we got to classify this. You can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
It's a profound discovery.
Yeah.
Why can't you share it with humanity?
Yeah.
You know? I know the Vulcan Science Institute or Vulcan Science Academy, whatever it is, doesn't believe in time travel. We know that. They make that very well known in Enterprise. And Vulcans don't believe in time travel. And other Star Trek, they don't believe in time travel. But it happens. But even though Vulcans definitely have time travel, we know that from Carbon
Yeah.
Creek and Enterprise as well too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I found that whole thing just like, well, why do they gotta, why do they need to classify that? I mean, people in Starfleet have to know time travel's happened, right? There's stories about Kirk traveling back in time and
Yeah.
saving the way, getting the whales and saving humanity. I mean, come on, guys, that's kind of ridiculous. But even though Pike doesn't take the promotion, somebody else on the ship gets a well-deserved promotion.
Yeah. So like Una gets promoted. And I thought that was um yeah, it came out of the blue, right?
Yeah.
So uh, and how did like how does she get promoted? Does uh, is Pike promoting her or is she being promoted because Admiral April is like consenting to her promotion? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, they don't really give details. My guess would be a couple of things. One, that it came down from Starfleet, right?
Mm.
That it was she had been selected for for promotion. The other thing is she stunned a T-Rex. So I think that in and of itself kind of pushed her over the edge a little bit, got her that promotion. They said, "Well, how many Starfleet officers have stunned a T-Rex before? None. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of the delineator for her to put herself above the others."
That's true. So in that case, I mean, both Una and Leon would just be like the top tier in Starfleet, right? So
Lon should get some type of merit or medal or something, right? For I mean, how many Starfleet officers have punched a dinosaur? Let's think. Oh, one. So
yeah,
just one, and of course it had to be Lon because we know she kind of has some anger issues at times.
yeah,
That friggin' Noonien Singh blood flowing through her body.
yeah. Ultimate like immediate reaction to punch the dinosaur.
Yeah. And so the end of the episode too was nice. The moment in the bar where they're sitting around and talking, okay, let's talk about the
Mhm.
dinosaurs. You gonna share these dinosaur stories or what? That was kind of fun. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
so what are your thoughts, Chris, of this season premiere episode? I don't remember a season of Star Trek that had a premiere episode for that season that was a time travel episode. There might have been, and if those of you watching or listening know, please let us know in the comments below if you're on YouTube or send us a message or post on social media. I can't think of a season of Star Trek where we started out with time travel.
Hmm.
So I thought that was
Yeah.
an interesting choice. Give me and the audience your thoughts overall on what you think of the start of season 4, and then we'll kind of talk about maybe some speculations for us for the
hmm
rest of the season.
hmm I think it was a accessible like episode and enjoyable for families. Has has dinosaurs, has like some hand-to-hand combat with some dinosaurs, like has horseback riding, like at the beginning. Like they're all over the place on
Yeah.
this with the horseback riding, and I'm still like stuck on where they got the horses. Don't know. Still
on
thinking
on
about
a
that.
foreign planet, yeah,
Yeah.
alien planet.
So you have dinosaurs, horses, time travel, um, alien bugs, like Martians. We're hitting all these like things here, right?
Is the o-
Martians, but
is the
yeah.
only thing we're missing the TARDIS?
Oh, okay. Let's go back. Thank you
Okay.
for saying that. There was a scene with Pelia in the conference room, and I forget the immediate like what they're saying right before what she says. But she says something about, yeah, last time or maybe it was they're talking about the Stellar Squall. Doesn't she say something like last time I saw one, I was like in a telephone booth?
Yes. Yep. I think that was a Doctor Who reference snuck in there.
Yeah.
So there was rumors apparently. I read there was some rumors that they discussed doing a Star Trek and Doctor Who crossover episode on Strange New Worlds where they would actually have Doctor Who. I would assume David Tennant on the show, and I'm assuming TARDIS and all that. And I think maybe that's a reference to they couldn't get it approved,
Hmm.
so they decided, well, let's throw a
I
Doctor Who
see.
reference in.
I see.
Yeah, that's
I
why I
got
said that's the only thing we're missing was a TARDIS, right?
Oh, that's what. Okay. So you picked up on that too.
Yes,
I gotta
yes.
honestly sort out how I feel about that reference, like in there.
Well,
Um,
the opening scene with the horses is like Indiana Jones, right? You got some Indiana Jones kind of like adventure horseback riding kind of thing. We've got Jurassic Park. We've got the bugs and Starship Troopers. We've got the alien ship scene. Uh, we've got a reference to Doctor Who. I mean, I guess the only thing we're missing is a Death Star, and then we've pretty much covered the gambit. Well, we kind of had a Death Star in Strange New Worlds before, right? With
yeah,
the humans like 200 years out on their own, they
yeah.
develop a ship that eats planets. So we're hitting all the franchises, Chris.
We,
All of them. We're fully immersed and inclusive of all the nerds in the nerd kingdom.
yeah, you're right. This was everything. This had,
Yeah.
yeah, had the
Yeah.
alien vibe with the ship and
Yeah.
Prometheus and
Yeah.
mm,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. It was enjoyable. I'm still sorting out like how like I feel about it. I did feel like it had ha had so many familiar things put into this. I kind of think about like how original was it? Um, Original for Star Trek, because we haven't had really a crossover with dinosaurs in Star Trek yet. So that was original. Um, but I think it was enjoyable and a good episode for families and kids that want to see dinosaurs. And um, those are kind of my first thoughts. I really gotta, since I just saw it and it's pretty raw in my mind, just like how I sort through like how I feel like about it
Yeah.
and like compare it to the other season openers of Star Trek Strange New Worlds too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you feeling about it right now?
I mean, I watched it Thursday, but I'm still a little torn. I do think it's fun. I think it's one of those, hey, mom and dad like Star Trek and Sally and Billy don't, but there's dinosaurs, kids, come watch this kind of thing.
Hmm.
So I think you're right there. I would say I don't know how I feel about a time travel episode opening up a season. Because what I think is going to happen is there's going to be more time travel in the rest of the season. And when you only have 10 episodes in a season, it's really ambitious to do multiple time travels in one season with that few episodes. So that has me a little concerned, honestly.
Yeah.
It really does. I do think there were things in the episode where I'm like, it didn't kind of really fit. Like Pelia's kind of quirkiness. The way they had it in this particular episode didn't fit to me, didn't work. It did in other episodes in season three, but it didn't really in this one. The dinosaurs, I think if you didn't have dinosaurs in the episode would have turned out the exact same.
Hmm.
I don't think the dinosaurs were necessary. They were fun. Don't get me wrong, they're fun.
Hmm.
Seeing Lon punch a dinosaur and Una stunning a dinosaur and then sexing a dinosaur to determine it was a female. Those were interesting and fun and whimsical. But were the dinosaurs completely necessary? Not really, but fun.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm kind of like you a little bit. I've been trying to think about this episode the last couple of days. I've talked to a couple people who've watched it, and they've kind of given me the, like they're not sure. They kind of like it, they kind of don't.
Hmm.
So, a pun intended here, but time will tell.
Time will tell. As you were talking, does it feel like I'm sorting how I feel about this too, what I think about what I'm going to ask. Does it feel like Star Trek? And I'm struggling with that like a little
Yeah,
bit as I go,
that's a really good question, Chris. This for me
Hmm.
so far, this episode didn't feel like Trek that much.
Hmm.
It felt more like an amalgamation of a bunch of franchises that
Mm,
happened to be in a Star Trek episode.
yeah. Yeah. As you know, we've had Next Generation like on like in the background like so much.
Pluto
And
TV,
yeah,
man.
Pluto TV
Hey, maybe
is
Pluto
awesome.
TV will sponsor our podcast.
Yes, please.
That'd be great. We
Awesome.
love we love Pluto TV. We
We
really do.
do.
It's
Yeah.
so awesome. Free streaming of Star Trek.
Yeah. And part of what I know both you and I love about TNG is like there is a very, very deliberate approach to the conflict and the question and the dilemma that is
Yeah.
in that is being explored in that episode. Um, yeah. And that's why I'm thinking about this particular episode of Strange New Worlds and going, oh boy, it just feels so different, right? Than TNG on those kind of those morality plays.
Yeah, you're not
Insanely.
wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not wrong. It's definitely different. I mean, New Trek has been different
Hmm.
quite a bit from what we call legacy Trek, right? TOS through Enterprise. And there's pros and cons to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's certainly a question to wrestle with, I think, for sure. If you're watching or listening to us, let us know. Are you wrestling with this episode as far as it feeling like Trek? What are your thoughts on it? We always like to hear from all of you. Okay, Chris, really quickly, as we wrap this episode up and we wrap up the season premiere of season 4 of Strange New Worlds, knowing that if the what has been said is true, we only have like maybe 15 more episodes of this show before it's over because we
Mm.
heard season 6 or season 5 might only have like 6 episodes. Maybe they're
Yeah.
longer, but so if they have less than 10 episodes, I mean we're counting down here between season 4 and season 5, which we know have already been shot. Season 5 is probably going through post production now, and they're preparing it for it to be done. So we don't have a lot left. We don't have a lot of time left with this crew and what they've developed in Strange New Worlds. So, what do you have any predictions or any suspicions or thoughts of what anything, any couple things that may or may not happen in the rest of season 4?
I have some thoughts on concerns, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because if the quantity of episodes is shorter, right, that goes to like whatever goal that they have in mind for the end of the series is will feel rushed. And so you're going to
Mm.
get through like a lot of these like um just points where they're rushing to get to whatever the goal is, whatever the conclusion is for the episode. And maybe the conclusion is Pike in his chair. That might be it, right? But um I I'm concerned that it is going to feel rushed and there is not going to be enough time to explore the characters like we want them explored or to explore the dilemmas that make Star Trek what is Star Trek.
Mm.
Because you're just going to be rushing toward the conclusion of like, how does the end happen? Whatever the end is, if it's Pike, what are the events? What's the A, B, C, D to get there?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll make it look like it'll look spectacular. It'll look
Yeah.
visually like nice. But that's my concern. Like going, oh, then you're just going and rushing to the destination rather than taking time to be in the moment and exploring who are each of these characters and what does it mean to be on the Enterprise and this 5-year mission. So those so my first thoughts, my friend.
Mm.
Like, yeah. Yeah. And you, what are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Well, I have. I mean, there's been a thing that was released recently. I think it was today, and I'm sure it came out of San Diego Comic Con, which is going on right now, the time of this recording. Um, and they show like coming up on season 4 or whatever, and they show a bunch of like quick shots from the whole season.
Hmm.
And so one of the shots in there we see T'Pring again. So my
Okay.
guess is there's a
Yeah.
love triangle with T'Pring coming back, I think, at some point, and Lon. I think that, and we're gonna see Kirk again. I'm sure. Well, I have concerns too, but my
Yeah.
predictions are that we are going to lose one of the main characters that's not a TOS character. Now, by lose, do
Mhm.
I mean I mean a couple of things. It could be either they're killed like Hemmer, not exactly like Hemmer, but they kill the
Mhm.
character off like they did with Hemmer, or they are just gonna leave the show in some way. I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're working towards that,
Hmm.
especially if they're gonna have less than 10 episodes for season five to finish the show. My concern is we'll lose a character, and my big concern is one of those characters will be Lon.
Mm.
And that whole thing, like I told you earlier, that whole thing with the hand not hurting and not feeling the pain, that concerns me that they're setting her up for
Yeah,
something.
I agree
That
with you.
really concerns me that they're setting her up, potentially setting her up to sacrifice herself for Spock or somebody else in the crew or the ship as a whole. Like that would be a
Um,
way that Lon would go out. She'd go out in a blaze of glory, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
That concerns me because then I'm going to be angry.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I know she's not a character that continues, right? In the TOS. Um, I think you brought up a good point, the idea of it being rushed. Like I hope Strange New Worlds doesn't get the Enterprise treatment in different
Hmm.
situations, but that they just kind of hurry up and get to the end because maybe they only got approval for less than 10 episodes for season five, or I don't know. Um, and another prediction I would say I have is that we're gonna get at least one clunker episode this season.
Mm.
Just
Hmm.
with some of the risks they're trying. I mean, I don't know if that's the puppet episode or what, but I have a feeling that we're gonna get one episode where we're just like, ooh, that
Hmm.
that wasn't good.
Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong. I
yeah,
really do because when you have one clunker episode in a 10 episode season, that's 10% of your season.
yeah. That's right. That's 10%
A
of
lot
season.
easier to have a clunker when you have 26 episodes
Yeah,
or multiple clunkers than when you do have 10 episode only 10, right? So,
yeah. And a
yeah,
lot.
those are a couple things I was thinking of.
No, that's all. Those are awesome thoughts. I mean, the format of streaming and the format of these s- series and these seasons is just it's a difficult format, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
You have a really hard time building story arcs
yeah,
and building depth of characters because you just don't have enough time.
you do. You do. If I can make like a point on this is that, you know, Picard, the series, Picard series 3 and Picard series 4. Very Q centric, right? So Q's in
Wait. What?
season, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Picard,
season. No, season three was the last season.
I'm
You mean
sorry.
two,
Yeah,
two
season
and
2.
three, right?
2 and
Yeah,
3.
two and three.
Yeah,
Okay,
2 and
yeah.
3.
I was like,
Yeah.
wait, did I miss a season here? Hang on a second.
Yeah. So, yeah, Picard season 2, Picard season 3. Um, Particularly season 2. Q,
Yeah,
right? So much about Q. And those Picard seasons are they're not like they're not long, right? They're
yeah,
however many episodes they were. But they would definitely not be as meaningful because you had Q and all of these episodes of TNG, these just random episodes of Q just being in there. Like you had Cupid, you had just Q being human, you had just all these kind of uh, space and episodes to explore this relationship with Q. And because those seasons had like 20 plus episodes, right, in
yeah,
TNG. Yeah. So you had space to do that. So now you come out to Picard and then you've got this whole thing with Q and it's so much more meaningful because you had space to build all this up. And so that's the hard thing with this new format of episodes and series is like, okay, it's just so truncated
yeah.
right now. And you don't
I
get to
agree.
explore as much.
And that's a good point. And I am going to mention DS9 briefly
Yeah.
because the same way you mentioned Q with TNG, I would say because of the truncated episodes and the lack or truncated seasons and the lack of number of episodes, if DS9 was in the same format that Strange New Worlds is, you would have never seen the story arc that Nog got.
Yeah,
Nog never would have had the
absolutely.
story arc. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
didn't have the episode. You wouldn't have the episodes to do it. And I've said it a million times before. I still think Nog is the greatest character arc in all of Star Trek, from where he goes from to where he gets to. And you just don't have that time in Strange New
Yeah.
Worlds because of the format we're in now, right? And it's a shame. And the actors say the same thing all the time about it. It's a shame that they don't have more time to develop characters and
Yeah.
story arcs and character arcs and everything. So that's a very good point. Very, very good point. And maybe one day that'll change. But right now, the world we live in is these shortened seasons and streaming, and you just don't have a lot of time to get after the things you used to be able to, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, season 4 is here, Chris. I know that people are excited for a new season of Strange New Worlds. I know we are, and I, of course, as always, am excited to go on the season 4 journey with you, my friend, as we work our way through. And I will say the same thing I said during season 3. It's going to go by in the blink of an
Hmm.
eye, and before we know, we'll be talking about the season finale of season 4, which is the season finale. I think is Tomorrow's Enterprise, the title, which has your eyebrows. I think I can't remember if that's the season finale or not,
That's
but
the name of it?
yeah,
Tomorrow's
Tomorrow's
Enterprise?
Enterprise, which is a play on I think yesterday's
Yeah.
Enterprise. So what does that look like? And oh, by the way, in the teaser thing, I think that was released at San Diego Comic-Con, and the little quick shots from throughout the season, there's an image of you see Uhura, and then a kind of a ghost image where you see Nichelle Nichols break off. And I'm wondering if that's from Tomorrow's Enterprise, if
Okay.
they're going to have flashes of the TOS characters, the actual TOS characters from the
Hmm.
show, as a Tomorrow's. I don't know, but I'm incredibly intrigued by what that could be.
Hmm.
So we got a lot to look forward to in season 4. Maybe some stuff not to puppets and maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll come out good. Who knows? But we're gonna have some great guests on with us. Hopefully, as long as we can work up schedules, we will have some folks joining us during our season 4 journey of Strange New Worlds. So we look forward to that as well. And yeah, we'll be looking forward to episode 2 next week as we work our way through this new season, my friend.
Beautiful, bro. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be awesome. So, thank you, everybody, as always, so much for watching and listening all over the globe and the interwebs. We, of course, greatly, as always, appreciate it. And if we haven't said it in a while, all 92 countries that are listening to our
Oh,
podcast, on top of YouTube and everything else. So we thank you so much for joining us, for trying us out, checking us out. It's great. It's humbling. It's wonderful. Facebook, Instagram is Threads, is where you can find us on social media, as well as YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to stay tuned right here to the Random Redshirt podcast for our announcements, and be sure to put on the alerts and all that stuff for when our next Strange New Worlds review comes out, so you can keep up with it and watch along during season 4 with us, and let us know your thoughts, because we love hearing from you very much.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, we'll take care, everybody, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Random Redshirt podcast.